Hey guys, welcome to Quinn Street Farm, coming to you straight through the power of YouTube, right from Cornville, Maine. We are at the wreath division today, and I am going to go over the Kelco K102 wreath making machine that we got last year. Been wanting to do a video for this for a while, and finally have a couple of minutes to put it together and get it out. So let's start out. We'll go over how to make a wreath on the wreath machine. And hopefully this will help you understand why I think that real rings are better than clamp rings, and why I think wire wreaths are the best. And yeah, stick around and let's get to work. So let's look underneath the machine. I have a mechanical clutch driven wreath machine. And the way that this works is when you push down on the foot pedal down here, it pulls that lever and clutches in the wheel, the pulley. As you can see, I've already jerry-rigged it with sisal baling twine to make it work. And I have put it up on these little pedestals because I am tall and it's really hard on my back otherwise. So that's the underside of the machine. And basically, the harder you push on the lever, the more the clutch drives in and the faster the machine will go. Now up top, this is the wheel that spins around and wraps the wire. And as you can see, it rolls on these wheels, which I'm pretty sure I'm getting ready to get new ones. And those are tensioned by moving this nut in and out, pushes the wheel closer. The wire roll is on the right side and the wrapping mechanism is on the left. So the way that this works is the wire is fed. See that little hole right there? The wire is fed through there. Now remember, on the bow making machine, the toilet paper had to go over the top. On the wreath wrapping machine, the toilet paper goes under the bottom, so it rolls right off. It comes around this little piton here that rolls back and forth. You wrap it around the first clip, and then these two over here, these are your tensioners. And the way it tensions the wire is you just continue to take wraps until you have the amount of tension that you like. And how that's displayed out is as the wheel spins, the wire is fed out. Now, just like in the original wreath making video, it helps immensely to have your material all prepared for you. If you can have a feeder, I think the way it works to me is like 2 people can go 3 times as fast type deal. But if you have somebody feeding you and prepping your material, when it gets time to wrap the wreath, you can fly. I can make a wreath. My record time is 8 minutes per 12-inch ring. And I only got 5 out an hour for my record time because I got fetched up in one of the other ones. But that's really where you're at. If I can make a wreath every 8 to 9 minutes, you know, that's 5, maybe even 6 an hour. And that is very helpful. The wreath machine can accommodate much larger ring sizes, so I can do 48s, and I've heard of even 60s being able to go through the machine. So that's extremely helpful because you know, there's just no, well, it's just extremely helpful. All right, so let's get started making a wreath. We'll make a 12-inch wreath, double-sided. All of my stuff's double-sided, and we'll go from there. All right. Okay. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do, obviously, is turn the machine on, and you saw the switch over there. So the motor is running. Now, there is an electric clutch version of this, and I don't really know how that works because I don't have one. So, yeah, you're on your own with that. The first thing we do is we have to wrap the wire around the ring. So I slowly, see how I slowly hit the button? I hold it there. I get a couple wraps. Then what I do with this is I just take it and cross it over and take another wrap. Now we have the wire attached. So, in order to make a wreath, we're gonna just do like before. We're gonna take it and we're gonna hold it by the waist, right? We're not gonna hold it by the tail at the bottom because that's gonna be too floppy and it doesn't make any point to go up there. So typically I call it by the waist, but I'm really looking at holding it about an inch above where the bottom triangle is. And we're just gonna go kind of like right there. And that's gonna bring together, I do 2 on the front and I do 2 on the back. And we're gonna kind of inline. We don't want it like that. So we're kind of inlining it a little bit, tangenting it, tangent. Say that word, tangent. I didn't know you were gonna have spelling school here. It's gonna be a tangent off the ring. And we take a wrap. And I just cut that off. So I'm going to add another one. I might be too tensioned. All right. So we're going to take a wrap. If it's too tensioned like you saw there, it's going to cut it might cut the material. And then we do 2 on the bottom. It's always helpful to have a pair of clippers with you, so if you get stuff that you're fed that you don't like, maybe it's too long, you can tie it in and bring it back. And then we take a wrap. I usually do 1 to 2 wraps, and then we're just gonna go over the top again. I keep the wreath ring up toward the upper end, which gives me room to work. And then we go underneath. And see how I can see the back side of that where it's light white? We know that's the bottom. In order to keep this even, I watch that and I try to pair the underside so it's fairly close to that. And we're going to kind of triangle that out a little bit. I hope that makes sense. And this is how we go. We just keep going. Kind of doing that tangent thing. And you're kind of overlapping just a little bit. It's almost like shingling a roof, right? Where, because you're overlapping, get that out of there. Even though I'm taking like 1 ring, you can see where it's gonna end up being quite full. Now, one of the reasons I like the clamps, the wire ring, is because I can control where I have my stuff. So it's not like you have so many clamps and you got to put it the same every time and the shape's going to be the same or something like that. If you get a little loose, I can go back and unloosen it, so to speak. Like I can put more or less to try to fill spots and things like that. One of the things I notice is wreath making, just like anything, a warm-up period. Like I think once I get going, my second and my third wreath are always better. But you can see how I'm just kind of trying to have that come off, and then we just keep turning the material around. Okay, so now that we've come to the end, it gets a little hinky because we don't want to wrap these over. So what I do at the end is the goal is we want to have no no flat spaces there where it's a little naked. So I try to get some smaller stuff together and kind of sneak it in a little bit. Now, oh, see, like right there. So if you are in slow down mode, like you can fix that, right? And then I'll show you what we do when we pull it off and finish it for good, or how I do it. Remember, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And then when I get to the end, typically I flip it over. You can flip this over too. I used to do where I'd flip it one side to the other to get going. I just got better at it, and it started to slow me down, so that's kind of how I ended up sliding stuff under. But as a beginner, if you want to flip it over to see what's what, there's no problem there. I mean, really, as long as you're making a good wreath, I suppose maybe there's more efficient ways to do something. So right there, we're close. I'm going to toss in one more piece here, and then we'll flip it over to the other side, which I think ultimately will be the front, although sometimes I make a game time decision at the end and decide that the back is better. So I'm going to tuck that in and get right there. All right, and then we'll flip it back over. And we'll get a couple more in there. And then this wreath will be ready to be flushed out. The endings are always terribly difficult to me, and I think they're kind of what make or break a wreath. It can always have trouble at the top. So I'll show you kind of how I address that in 2 seconds. How about two swings of a Kelco wreath machine? So then the white side we need to have face up, and there's a clip on this side that you just pull the piton and lift it up, see? And then there's a little pin there that it... All right, and then I pull it out. Now from this point, I can see that I'd like to do something there. I need like one more piece to go in. So I pull a little bit of wire out, enough to make a wrap and then finish it off. And now by hand, I will take and just stuff in what I think will make that look good. Wrap that last one by hand. Come around the front, come around the back, and I think we're good there. Make that wrap. And then how I finish it is on the second wrap, I take a loop, I get my thumb in there, bring the wire around, make sure that the loop's clear and free of everything. We don't want any stuff in there pulling it tight, because that's all good. And then I kind of do one of those fisherman cinch knots, you know, when you're tying a line to the swivel or something, except that I don't go back down through. I just take a couple wraps and pull it tight. There we go. And then I clip. So I feel like I have more control with the wire, and I think it's more versatile, especially for production. Okay, so there you have it. That was a real-time version of putting out a 12-inch ring. I don't see how, if you're going to do any wreath making at scale, that you can get away without having a Kelco machine, but there are people who do it, and there are people who don't like the machine, but I think it is a great tool, a worthy investment, and yeah, so we're back at it. We're gonna keep making wreaths until we can't make any more wreaths, and then we gotta cut trees and do all that stuff, and makes me really happy. And you know that I really would rather feel bad in Maine than feel good anywhere else. So, dare go, my friends. I'll see you soon.